Hi, in this post we're going to talk about different bedding options for platform bedding systems for Sprinter vans. And so there's a bunch of different options out there. We're going to start with the cheapest and work our way up. So for kind of cheapest, somewhere around the $350 price tag for components, and assuming that you're going to do the work yourself, we've got three different options. The one that I recommend the most out of the three is the Harbor Freight ATV track system. So what you do there is you get a steel L-beam that is somewhere between 75 and 80 inches in length and about 2 inches wide either way on the L, and you just run it lengthwise down the side of the Sprinter van. And that's assuming that you're doing it at a standard height, right? The standard height that kind of the body of the Sprinter is going to support. You do 5 or 6 screws along that L-beam into the body, and then you can lay the ATV tracking system right across, and it is pretty much a perfect fit. So that's the easiest way to do it. You'll want to throw a little bit of plywood on top of the tracks, and then a little bit of carpeting that you can screw in somewhere. Or you can just glue the carpeting to the pieces of wood and just kind of slide them into place in between the slots of aluminum to make it nice and even keel, more or less. And then you can put whatever bedding you want on top of that. And the second option for cheapest is these Ikea Skorva beams, which go across this way. Right, so there's no steel L-beam involved, and they, as you can see, are kind of funny angle here, and right on the tip up here is where most of the weight is going to go, and it just goes right onto the body of the Sprinter van. You may want to put something down in between this piece right here, because you can see it's very thin. I mean, all the weight is going on a very small piece, and that will cut through the paint with the vibration of the vehicle moving and whatnot. So you might want to put in, I don't know, some kind of plasti dip, or maybe some carpeting, or something kind of thick and sturdy that can take a little bit of a beating, just so that you're not rubbing through the paint and the body of the Sprinter and creating potential rust for the future. So you'll have to address that issue a little bit. But with 3 or 4 of these, at about $20 each, again, you can build an entire bedding system, and you won't have to do any kind of metal racking at that point. You can probably just use 1/2-inch plywood, probably 3 of those, 3 separate panels, and those would run the length of the vehicle, since these are going to be running the width, right? And the only trick there, having not actually built one myself, is I'm not quite sure how you get in and out of the bed right from the inside, because where you would initially maybe put your knee or foot where you put your weight on the edge is going to create a little bit of a cantilever, and I would imagine that the panels are going to pop up and down a little bit. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but there seem to be several people out there that do them, so it's got to be doable somehow. I'll have to think that through a little bit, but it seems doable. Third option is a custom build, which is what I did. So I went to my local metal guys and I picked up, several feet, a lot of length of aluminum and some steel, and cut everything down the size that I wanted, and I ended up by using metal bracing hardware and just screwing it in with self-tapping metal screws. And then, same thing with the price point is about the same. The advantage is if you want to do any kind of a custom build, it allows you to do that a little bit more easily if you're doing anything unusual. A lot of times you'll see in some of the pictures and videos, there's a little bit of a bump out right here on the edge. If there's a straight beam going across, it'll bump out a couple inches in kind of a rounded arc, because the back doors in the back of the Sprinter is kind of bowed out. So that would be an example of a custom thing that you could do. So those are the 3 options that are the cheapest. After this, it gets more expensive. One that is moderately more expensive is doing what is often referred to as a monk bed, which basically folds up against the side of the vehicle while you're not using it. So it's I'd say about, comes to the halfway point, or it can, right? If I was going to do it, I'd have it come out close to the halfway point or all the way to the halfway point. And so that's 35 inches, and then have it fold up, the lengthwise of the vehicle, fold flat up against the wall. And if you were you kind of have to do a custom build. You couldn't use the Harbor Freight ATV if you were doing that, and you would not be using the Ikea at that point. So if you're going to do a custom build, I think for a little bit more money, you can put some more hardware into the hinging system and into the nylon straps that hold into the roof, that hold the weight, right? So you have a nylon strap that runs vertically from the center point, give or take, down to about here, and it holds the folding section, the weight up right there. So that's an interesting alternative because that allows you to get the bed out of the way really easily, particularly if you've got mattresses like these, which are from Ikea. They're $40 each, or sorry, they're from Costco. Costco, they're $40 each. They're massage things, and they fold up like that one, right, into 3 pieces, and they are exactly 35 inches wide each. So they're perfect, exactly 35 inches wide each, so they are perfect for the Sprinter van. They fit perfectly in the right length, and the covers come off, and they're easy to clean, and that good kind of stuff. So if you don't mind a firm foam mattress, that's a great way to go. And I think that you could use the Monk system, and then that way you can very easily and quickly fold your bed up and out of the way when you're not using it throughout the day, and have the rest of the space open and available. And whatever you want to do down here as far as building benches or putting in a table or whatever you want, you can recapture that space pretty easily. So that would be a great option. That's one that I think in hindsight I would have been interested in building myself. I would have taken a little bit longer, cost, I don't know, an extra $100. So now you're up to the $450 price point all in. Still seems reasonable to me. So that's pretty good. After this, we've got a couple more options, but now it gets expensive. So one very popular option is what's often referred to as the MOAB bedding system, which is an adjustable rack system that allows you to lower and raise your bed system manually. And it is a racking system that goes along the joists in the side of the frame of the vehicle, and that is what your weight-bearing component is. And it's all, it looks like it's aluminum. It could be stainless steel, but those kits, the cheapest one that I was able to find was $1,000, and that's just for the racking system. That's not for the rest of the bed, right? The rest of the bed, if you buy, if you go and buy it pre-assembled, pre-made for you, basically, where you have to install the racking system into your vehicle, but the bedding components are already prefabbed for you. I think it was $3,500, and if you have somebody do the install for you, then it's $6,000, maybe more. I mean, it depends on where you have it done. So the price point just kind of keeps going up and up. So if you're an avid bicyclist or a motorcycler or anything like that, where you're going to have a large gear that this is going to be too low and you need to get the bed higher, it kind of limits your options at that point as to how you're going to make that happen. You could try doing the Monk bed system, the foldable thing, because the weight at that point is dispersed between the wall and certain points in the ceiling. So you could try doing that, and I think it would hold. I think that would hold between 2 straps here in the back, 2 straps up at the front, in the center, distributing the weight out. Make sure that you put the points up on the ceiling, a little further apart, not right next to each other. And then move your steel L-beam up a little higher and run it across the joist. But at that point, you got to make sure that you hit, both the joists, which I think on the 144 is really just going to be the front and the back. The 144 wheelbase length for the Sprinters would just be the front and the back, so it would just be those 2 points, and that would be it. So it's a little light. I think you can get away with 2 people in the bed, but probably not more than that. After that, you'd really be running the risk of tearing one of your bolts, right out of the framing, and you do that once. That's it. That's all you get. So a little bit of risk in doing it that way, but I think you could try that. I've also seen some people do, instead of having a rope going up to the roof, some people have a folding leg that just is held in like one bolt, right, going through, and so it just folds down and just kind of hangs, and that creates the support in place. The obvious problem with that is that if you have a bunch of gear down here, or bicycles or motorcycles, then the folding leg thing is not going to work out so well for you. So that one, most people tend to stay away from that one. The monk bed system with the rope to the roof seems to be the preferred option. The last option, the most expensive, is a motorized elevator lift system, which does mean that you need to get some kind of a steel beam that runs from right about here all the way up, right, and they brace it into the far corner, but that is a few inches out from the wall, so you're going to lose some space. But the bed, you can have it motorized or manual, and it can just go straight up, which is kind of cool, but it also, costs, at that point, that's not a DIY project. That's, I mean, maybe you could, but probably going to have to get some professionals in there somehow if you motorize it. And so if you do it just manual lift, then I think the price point was, I mean, it's in the thousands of dollars at this point, like several thousands of dollars to do that kind of a system. And if it's motorized, then, you're talking close to 10 grand. And if you have a professional install it, you're talking $15,000, give or take, right? You're going to have a lot of trouble finding parts for these last couple of options. You're going to have trouble finding the components and finding the parts at a reasonable price. Everybody that you go through is probably going to be a Sprinter van conversion specialist who, they've got their source of where they get it from, but they're not going to tell you where that is. And so you're going to have to pay, not only full freight for the parts, but the markup that the conversion folks are going to charge you. Maybe you can find it. I looked around a little bit today before making this video for half an hour spent trying to find it. I found all the different conversion folks that are doing it across the country, but I could not find the source of the actual tracking for the sides, or any of the rest of the elevator lifts or any of that stuff. And it's not standard equipment that you can go to Home Depot and get, so I don't know. You can keep looking online, see if you can find it. If you can, it's probably in there in one of the forums or somewhere, but I'm in a little bit of a loss. So I'm not sure how much it would cost directly to purchase direct from China or direct from wherever. All the sources that I found were about $1,000 and through somebody else. So there's going to be a markup there. So that's it. Those are all the options that I've seen that are out there that look interesting and doable. And so you've got choices to make, mostly about how much money and time you want to spend doing this kind of stuff. The last thing I would note is if you do a custom build and you're doing, you're looking at trying to put together your framing like this, you can do the brackets with the screws, and that's fine. It works. It's a little heavy. The other option that I discovered perhaps a little bit too late, and because I didn't have any experience with it, I wasn't very confident in doing it, is to weld the aluminum together. Having looked into it a little bit more since I did this, I think it's very doable. It's very approachable as a novice to go in and weld this stuff together. It doesn't look too hard. And if it breaks, you can always put the brackets in and just screw it into place. So that's it. So that's it. Those are all the options and a little bit of details. I really tried to stay focused on price point and not so much on the details of lengths or widths or thickness of the metal or any of those kind of details. If you have any questions about that kind of stuff, or cottering pins or any of the rest of the pieces that go into this, feel free to put up a little message on the YouTube thing or wherever, and I'll try and get in touch with you. I don't check it every day, but whenever I do get around to it, I'll try to answer. All right, good luck.